Hello and welcome to biopsychology. Today we're going to be looking at the nervous system and the endocrine system. So your nervous system, what is your nervous system? Well, it's a specialised network of cells and neurons that send very fast electrical signals around the body. It collects information from the environment and coordinates your muscles and your organs and your cells to respond to that information. Your nervous system is split into two subsystems, which is your central nervous system and your peripheral nervous system. Your central nervous system consists of your brain and your spinal cord, and your peripheral nervous system, your autonomic and your somatic nervous system. Your autonomic nervous system is further split into your sympathetic system and your parasympathetic system. We'll now look at each of these in more detail. Right, so your central nervous system is made up of your brain and your spinal cord. Your brain is where your conscious awareness happens. The outer layer of your brain is known as your cerebral cortex and is more highly developed in humans than it is in other animals. The brain is divided into two hemispheres, and your spinal cord is attached to the bottom of your brain via your cerebellum. And it is your spinal cord that is responsible for all your reflex reactions, which are those which happen automatically. Your central nervous system is the one that passes information from your brain to your peripheral nervous system. So your peripheral nervous system. This is basically all of your neurons or your nerve cells. It is further divided into your somatic and autonomic. So let's have a look at the somatic first. This is part of the nervous system which is responsible for carrying sensory information, so that is temperature, touch and motor information from the spinal cord. It is the part that basically causes you to move your arm away from something really hot. Your autonomic nervous system is really in control of your organs. It controls your breathing rate, your heart rate, your digestion, your sexual arousal, and it's also responsible for any response you have to a stressful situation. So the two main divisions of the autonomic nervous system are the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. They actually work antagonistically. That means they work in opposite to each other. The sympathetic nervous system gets your body active and activated to a stressful situation, and your parasympathetic system brings it back down to normal. So let's see what we actually mean. What do they actually do? So your sympathetic nervous system, it slows down your digestion. So imagine you're about to go in on stage and people say, oh, you're going to get butterflies in their tummy. This is because your digestion is slowed down and your acid is moving around in your tummy. Why do you get a dry mouth? That's because the sympathetic system slows down saliva production in your mouth. Why does your heart beat rapidly? It's because it increases your heart rate. It also stimulates glucose production in the liver. This is because we need glucose to create energy, and if we're in a stressful situation, we might either need to defend ourselves or run away. It relaxes your bladder, which is why when you're worried or nervous, you're more likely to want to go to the toilet. It dilates pupils and dilates your lungs or your bronchi, so you can increase breathing rate. Obviously, we need oxygen for respiration, and it is respiration that gives us energy. Now, you couldn't remain in a sympathetic state forever. So your parasympathetic nervous system puts your body back into its normal state. It does this by increasing digestion, increasing saliva production, decreasing your heart rate, inhibiting urination, all of those sorts of things. It's basically putting everything back together again. So, in simple terms, sympathetic generally prepares the body for flight or fight, and the parasympathetic puts homeostasis back and puts your body back to the way it should be. Why do we need it? Well, basically, we need the stress response because when we were on the African savannah, when we were just newly human, we would have needed to fight and defend ourselves from lots of other animals. So we needed to be able to prepare our body to be in stressful situations. So it's actually a survival mechanism. So just imagine for a minute you're walking down a street at night by yourself. Suddenly you hear what you suspect footsteps approaching you rapidly. What happens? Heart rate increases, your breathing rate increases, you might sweat a little bit, your mouth might go dry, you might feel sick in your tummy. This is because your sympathetic system is preparing yourself either to run like hell or defend yourself from the danger. These changes enable your body to take this action. When the threat has passed, imagine that that person was just a friend. Okay, you feel relieved, but it still takes a while for the parasympathetic system to take your body back down to normal. These two systems are constantly working to keep your body in a normal state, and this is what we call homeostasis. So every time a potential threatening experience occurs, someone slams on the brakes in front of you, you hear a loud noise in your house at night, your body will react in the sympathetic system, and the parasympathetic system will always put it back down to normal. This constant shifting between these two systems keeps your body ready for your current situation. Now let's have a look at the endocrine system. Now the endocrine system and their nervous system work together to help your body interact with the outside world. The endocrine system is a little bit slower than the nervous system. It controls your body by sending hormones through the blood. These are chemical messengers, and they are sent around the body and give your body instructions as to how to behave. So let's have a look at the endocrine system. First off, we're going to start with the pituitary gland. This controls the release of all hormones from your endocrine glands in the body, and it's often known as the master gland. The other most important one is your kidneys, which are here, and on top of that sits your adrenal glands. They release adrenaline, which is important in flight or fight. It constricts your blood vessels, it increases your heart rate, and inhibits your digestion. Some that you should already know: the ovaries, that release estrogen and progesterone, and your testes, which release testosterone. So let's have a look at an example question. Billy is an A-level student. He has been asked by his teacher to give a short presentation to the other psychology students in his class. Just before his presentation, Billy feels his mouth go dry and he starts to sweat. After the presentation has ended, Billy feels his breathing slow down and he begins to feel thirsty. Use your knowledge of the autonomic nervous system to explain Billy's behaviour before and after the presentation. Well, what we should always do, this is an AO2 question. Okay, we know this, it has a scenario, it's asking us to use our knowledge to explain Billy's behaviour before and after. Okay, so let's have a look first at our scenario. This is how you should be thinking when you answer a question. So just before, his mouth goes dry and he starts to sweat. After, his breathing rate slows down and he begins to feel thirsty. So if his breathing rate slows down, it obviously also increased before. So you must refer to those bodily changes in your answer. So let's have a look at an answer. Here's the one I prepared earlier. So they say. So let's have a look at this possible answer. Billy feels stressed about giving a presentation to the class and it activates his sympathetic response. Blood is diverted to the muscles for energy and as a result Billy sweats. So we're making sure we're picking up the key terms in our answer. His salivary glands have inhibited his saliva production, making his mouth go dry. So explaining why these behaviours happened. Once the presentation is over, Billy's stress is no longer present, and we now mention his parasympathetic system, which restores his bodily functions to normal. He feels thirsty because his previously inhibited saliva production has dried his mouth, and also don't forget the breathing rate is slowing down. We could also have mentioned that his breathing rate must have increased beforehand, which is another function of the sympathetic response. Okay, that's it on the nervous system and the endocrine system. I'll see you in lesson.